Hi, I'm Stephen K. Brown, the FAA Safety Team Program Manager for the Boston FAASTeam. And I figured I'd do a little test, like what I used to do in some of the college classes as I taught about systems and aeromedical factors. I'm going to show you what it looks like when one of these little carbon monoxide detectors changes. You can find these from many different pilot supply houses. I've used all sorts of them over the years, operating different fleets of aircraft. And it is something that gives you a good visual indication. No other indication other than actually looking at it directly, but it is something that can tell you in your aircraft, or even other machinery for that matter, if you're in a circumstance that you could be susceptible to carbon monoxide poisoning. You can get these from any supply house for pilot supplies. Generally, most last just about 30 days. This one here on the front says it lasts up to 12 months. However, if you read the details on the company that sells this, it says it really should only be used for 3 to 6 months. Take a look up a little bit closer and see the details. It tells you a little bit of how it works. Also tells you how quickly it will change depending upon how many parts per million you have of carbon monoxide. So, how does this work? Well, the orange dot in the middle is actually a silica gel impregnated with some palladium, and if I can say this properly, molybdenum salts. What it does is actually those salts take the carbon monoxide and transition it into carbon dioxide, which then in turn turns the orange disc black. Actually, it should reset itself after a little bit of time out in the open air because those salts will reabsorb some of the oxygen out of the atmosphere. A few things you want to be careful of. You don't want to touch them, get the oil from your fingers on them or anything like that. Little kids actually love to pick at them. Maybe even flight instructors for that matter too. You want to keep them out of the sun as much as possible and also avoid spraying them with any cleaners. Like I said, most need to be replaced every 30 days, and I used to do it at the beginning of every month. This one here says up to 12 months on the cover. It's a little bit more expensive than some of the other ones, but not much. They are fairly cheap, usually in the range of $1.50 to $6 each. But this one, as I was saying before, you know, on the specifications when you read it in detail, says should only be used for 3 to 6 months. So let's go ahead and open it up. I'm going to set it a little bit differently from what I usually do, just for these purposes here. And as I mentioned, it is the dark spot that indicates it. To save my panel and everything, I almost always use the 3M command strips to make it easy. It does come with a little bit of Tessa tape on the back, which is a high quality tape, used a lot. But for today's purposes, I'm just going to go ahead and clip it right on this little board that I made to give you an example. I'll set it right here near the exhaust. This is a big old van with a V8 engine, 10 years old. You try this with a modern automobile, you'll find that at idle, you don't get much. Automobiles tend to put out much less carbon monoxide and other gases as compared to aircraft engines. Why? Because they tend not to run as fast. They have electronic ignition control systems and monitoring systems with emissions, such as oxygen sensors and all of that. So they do fairly well, very efficient, and I guess environmentally friendly engines in comparison to something like this older V8 engine that you see here, or maybe an older, very large cubic inch aircraft engine. Being a V8, I'll start this timer too, So you can see how fast this actually does occur. It also is wet, which slows the process of changing significantly. So that's something else to consider. But here's a timer, got it started, and I'll go start the vehicle. Now I am using this mount. When I used to do this with some of the classes I taught, I probably wasn't doing the smartest thing and standing right there next to the exhaust, holding it in place. Not the type of thing that you really do want to do. So it's best for me to be standing back away from the exhaust, as we see here. All right, so you can see in just about 4 minutes, taking it right out of the package, which may have an effect on it, turns it gray, and just what is a fairly idle exhaust. Now think about an aircraft engine that's normally running at 70, 75% power, and for some reason you have an exhaust leak in your aircraft. You know, you can end up with very dangerous levels of carbon monoxide very, very quickly. So this is why you probably want a carbon monoxide detector in your aircraft, preferably one that has both audio and visual indications. But nonetheless, even if you're flying a fairly simple, inexpensive aircraft, if you're going to be flying in the months that you have heat running, you're going to want one of these. So thank you for your time. Be safe out there and enjoy flying this winter. Hopefully on a sunny day, not a rainy one like this.